Spain coming through for the queer rights. Like, this is huge. Lovely. Hi and welcome back to the channel. My name is Zoey Black and I am a trans woman living in Cape Town, South Africa, and I woke up this morning to the most incredible news. Spain has just introduced new laws that guarantees legal protection for LGBTQIA+ persons and specifically trans people that is based on a model that is human rights focused and based on depathologization and self-determination. Now I know that that's a little bit of a mouthful, but we're going to talk about what these new laws are and what they mean specifically. So LGBTQIA+ people have existed on the fringes of society as it pertains to human rights for a very, very long time. And it's only in, I guess, recent years where we've seen this progression in legal protection for queer people specifically. So for example, the legalization of gay or queer marriages in a number of countries is something that is relatively new. In South Africa, I think it was only in 2002 or 2003 where we introduced the Civil Union Act, which allowed people of the same sex to marry one another and have the same sort of legal consequences as straight people would, which is incredible. So while the conversation around equal rights for queer people as it pertains to their sexual orientation had sort of been pushed forward, gender has been something that hasn't been getting as much attention. And Spain now joins a number of other countries, including Argentina, Malta, Iceland, who have incorporated legal gender recognition, which are the legal mechanisms in your law that allow you to amend and determine your gender. They have moved into a space where you are able to self-determine that. Pretty much what that means is that if you are trans, non-binary, gender diverse, historically you had to substantiate or prove your identity through a number of mechanisms. Some countries require you to appear before a judge. Some legislation requires you to produce medical evidence to the fact that you are in fact trans and therefore are entitled to change your gender marker. Those models are very much based in a sort of pathologized way, which frames, I guess, trans people as being mentally ill, which is such a problem. And since the World Health Organization has moved away from its definition of trans identities as being pathologized, so the legal systems in the world have started to think differently about how they classify trans people. Now, Spain has adopted a model of self-determination, which means that if you're trans, if you're queer, if you're gender diverse and you want to change your gender marker, you don't need any kind of substantial proof. You don't need any kind of supporting documents. You don't have to go to court. You can make that determination for yourself. And you can just do that as a sort of general administrative procedure as part of your day-to-day functioning as a citizen of that country. Like, I can't stress how big this actually is. There are very few countries in the world who have these self-determination models. South Africa, my country, has been working on this for the longest time, and queer and trans activists around the country in the region have been advocating for this with the Department of Home Affairs for the longest time, because that is something that we deeply need to move away from the system that is medicalizing us and requiring proof that we are who we say we are, and move into a model that is more human rights centered. So I'm really, really happy for Spain, but South Africa, like, we need to come along now. The other major addition into the legislation is around the protection of rights for intersex people. Pretty much intersex just means that you are born with a bodily diversity in terms of your sex characteristics that's a little bit more diverse than the traditional sort of male and female, and that can manifest in a number of ways. Intersex people remain one of the most incredibly violated and vulnerable groups in the world. They have medical procedures which amounts to torture and mutilation performed on them as infants, as babies, and into their teen years, into their adult lives as well, because people see that there's something wrong with their bodies and they need to be corrected. And so the new laws in Spain now explicitly prohibit the intersex mutilation of their bodies, which is just Like, I can't tell you how huge this is. Like, Spain has really come through. And so with the introduction of this new legislation, it's very, very clear that the way that they're thinking about queer rights as human rights, that they have taken a sort of holistic approach in terms of the way that they are implementing these laws in their countries, in the way that they are understanding how queer people need to function on a day-to-day, that we have been excluded for the longest time. So I can't tell you how happy I am that they have introduced these protections for intersex people. Like, yes, some of the other bits that this new law is also reaffirming is the right for queer and lesbian people to have the same sort of legal rights as straight people in relation to giving birth, in relation to children's rights. So historically, not just in Spain, not in just South Africa, around a number of countries around the world, when a child gets registered with whatever registering authority it is in South Africa, it's the Department of Home Affairs. The forms that you have to fill in to register a child's birth usually only includes one slot for a child's mother. So like, obviously you can see how this presents like a problem for queer and lesbian couples, right? So they've put that into the legislation which guarantees those rights, and then have also sort of afforded some rights in terms of reproductive health rights to assist women who want to conceive in other ways that might not be straight conception. Yeah, that word. Like, YouTube is weird. Like, sometimes if I say a word in the video, get like demonetized or like, yeah, problems, I know. So yes, really incredible news for the people who live in Spain. I am so happy for you. Really proud of the Spanish government for doing the things for queer people. It's about damn time. Okay, cool. If you enjoyed this video and you found it helpful, I would really appreciate you subscribing to this channel. And also, I did a series on transgender rights in South Africa specifically, which talks to a number of the things that we've been talking about in this video. So go ahead and check that out. And I will see all of you in the next one. Ciao. Like, yes, this coffee is so freaking good. Like, yeah, the South African government really needs to like pick up its feet. Like, how many years has this depathologization thing been in the mix? Like, yeah, like, come on now, it's like been more than a decade. Damn, that's good.